Good morning to those of you out there on the West Coast. Good afternoon to those of you here on the East Coast with me. I'm excited to get started today's training. I like going down into tools and showing people how to use tools. They're the tools of our trade, right? And we should become experts at it. One thing I will mention, and maybe somebody can track or actually, Cecilia, Gus, somebody, if you can just text me and let me know you're hearing me. But I feel like LinkedIn is kind of having problems again because we got over 125 people registered, and the numbers don't add up. So sometimes LinkedIn has hiccups when they're doing the stream. So we'll track on that as we go forward. Maybe some people are registering and they're going to do the replay. I did want to just give a quick tip for those of you showing up early and on time as a way to say thanks. If you didn't see, I put out a post this morning that is from the Navy, and it's the 2023 to 2030 strategic plan for Port Hueneme of the Naval Surface Warfare Center group. So there's 10 of them, and this is one of the Naval Surface Warfare Centers, and it's awesome. It's got a lot of good information in there. In particular, I like how they line up the lines of effort and then the enablers that go with it, like technology enablers, business enablers, et cetera. And when you look, you begin to understand what they do. So if the Navy is part of your target, if you're looking to do business perhaps over there, I think they've got like 2,500 employees, but 4,500 total staff. And so there's a lot of room for contractor support. And that's the world we're in, right? It's government contracting. Good. I got some people saying we're good to go on the sound. So let me get my ducks in a row for getting started on training, and we will get off to the races. Give me 1 second just to make sure I'm okay. I'm going to assume we're good to go. In today's training, I want to cover down on obviously USA spending, right? And how we can use that. People always ask me, what can government contractors learn from within these tools, in particular from USA spending, right? And one of the things you can learn is how the government contracting dollars are being spent. Who's buying from vendors like you, and how's that money being allocated? Where is the work being performed compared to where is those contracts being procured, right? So it might be procured in Texas, but it's being done in California. So understanding that, USA Spending provides that kind of information. So today's training is about finding the money. In particular, I want to talk about how government contractors can find the money that the government is spending using USA Spending. This is, by the way, a really helpful tool. USA Spending is a very helpful tool for those of you just getting in, because it's a great way to just even learn what's going on and how it's spent and how much is being spent. And then as you've been in a while, so whether you're making no money and you're just getting started, or you're making $50 million as a small business, government contractors can use USA Spending to really learn how that money is being spent out there. So I use USA Spending every single day. And I'm using it right now as I support customers in our workshop. I use it to sit there and find where the government is spending money related to what they sell. And you can use that as well. And that's where we're going to dive into today. I'm going to cover down on three main areas. Today's going to be an actual live go into USA Spending and take a look at it. But the first thing I want to talk about is just put USA Spending in perspective. So I'm going to give an introduction to USA Spending for government contractors. And then I want to walk through USA Spending's features. As you look at a tool, you want to sit there and understand the basics of it before you really try to take it to the next level. And then I'm going to wrap up with how you can find the dollars, how government contractors can find the dollars using USA Spending. And what that really means is I'm going to be diving deep into USA Spending for the time we have remaining and showing you how to use that. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonald. I want to welcome you to my federal sales training, where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years as a small business owner in the federal market. And since 2018, when I founded the GovCon Chamber of Commerce, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. When you go follow a process A to Z, you have repeatable, predictable results. That's what I want for you. And that's why I do this training. If you haven't already, then do me a favor, subscribe to the Government Contracting Success newsletter. My newsletter, we're actually about to push 12,000 subscribers in there. I'm very excited about that. It means the information we're putting out is reaching a lot of people. Just put out an issue yesterday, in fact, and in that issue, obviously it talks about the training we do, but In there are a couple of really good, useful informations around women-owned small business, or the 7-step process for success in the federal market, et cetera. And then also the fourth estate small business specialist. If you're looking to go into DOD's the DOD fourth estate, basically anybody that's not Army, Navy, Air Force. If you're looking to get in there, we put out a directory of small business specialists in the fourth estate, so you can get access there. The other thing is, I want to thank you for registering. If you're one of the people who registered, we've got over 120 people who registered for today. And so I want to thank you because, one, it's helpful for reminding you. And two, it just allows LinkedIn to push the word out and lets others know that what we're doing is worthwhile for them to come attend as well. And then do me a favor, as you come to these trainings and you're part of the newsletter, consider inviting other people. This is your community. And the more people we invite and the more people we engage, the more we can get done. I get contacted by federal buyers all the time, and often they're reaching out trying to share information. But one of the things I want to do in 2024 is really commit to you to bringing program office level people to you. And one of the ways that it's easy for me to do that is I go, hey, I got this many people who come to my live trainings on a daily basis, right? They like that because they're trying to reach industry. They're trying to talk to you. And if I can just make it easy for them to reach their intended audience, it's good. So invite friends. It really helps us all in the end. Okay, so I'm going to go through 3 slides and then we'll dive into USA Spending. The first thing I wanted to do about USA Spending is just put it in perspective, right? When you think about USA Spending as a tool for us in the government contractors, right? This is a tool for everybody out there, the buyers and the sellers. But in particular, I'm talking to the sellers today, the government contractors. So one of the things about USA Spending to keep in mind, and you think about what's in it, is that USA Spending is bringing multiple systems worth of data back into it. I think there's like 400 data points or fields of data being pulled into USA Spending and being able to be displayed. I describe it basically as a graphical user interface, or a GUI of all this raw data. So an example is FPDS. It's a database. It's got all this data, and it's, for those of us who love data, it's perfect, but it's not that friendly to look at. And so USA Spending gives us a much more friendly graphical user interface. And so when I talk about all the data that comes in, the one I'm talking about in particular are contracts, because that's where the money is for the most part, right? That's what I want to look at is the data around contracts. And we'll talk about that in a second. And so, like I said, there's many sources, but the main one that deals with the money that we care about is FPDS, the Federal Procurement Data System. Is out there. It's where almost every contract that's awarded gets recorded. And that's where we can go to learn about opportunities, see what the government's buying, see what opportunities are in the future that might be recompeted that we'd want to go after. I did want to just put USA Spending in perspective to a couple of other tools that we use as we're thinking about our pipeline, et cetera. So you have SAM.gov. Obviously, this is where we register when we want to sell to the government, but it's also a tool system for award management, right? That they track awards. And so they'll put out new opportunities in there. You might see them as RFIs or sources sought. You'll see it as RFQs, request for quote, or RFPs, request for proposal. But it's also where they put awards, right? And so we can go in there and look at that data and see it. So you've got SAM as a major tool within the government contracting space. And right after that, we've got FPDS, where almost all of the awards are done. So if there's something that comes out on a contract vehicle, let's say it comes out on Seaport Next Gen, that's a contract vehicle for the Navy, it might not get recorded in SAM, but it will get recorded in FPDS after the fact, right? So it's a task order has been awarded and they just document it in FPDS. And then you've got USA Spending, which it has no data, but it displays data from many different places. That's one of my favorite places to go when I'm just trying to see the bigger picture. FPDS is where I go when I want to see, row by row by row of the data. And the last tool I just mentioned that is kind of in this world, and I'm happy to see people put into the chat other ideas, but the electronic subcontracting reporting system. And this is where people are just reporting their compliance on the subcontracting side. So in today's training, I want to walk you through in the next, we got 15, 20 minutes together. I want to walk you through USA Spending features. And there's 3 main areas that I want to walk you through. So I'm just mentioning it and then I'll go show you. The first one is filters. When you come in and you do searching, basically searching, you can do a keyword search where you type something in like Google, but really the power of searching within USA Spending is this ability to filter down the results. And so I'll talk about that, or the search. And then you get the results. And I want to walk you through just seeing the results and understanding how to look at the results before you dive deep. And the last one is the ability to export. Tools like FPDS and USA Spending have the ability to export. So I just want to point this out. If you didn't know about it, be able to tell you how to do it so you can find the data you want, export it out into a spreadsheet, and then you and your team can look at it offline. So along with showing you just the features of USA Spending, I also want to show government contractors. I want to show you how you can find the dollars, right? And I'm going to use an example of administrative support services today. I'm going to use BEA, which is a bureau underneath the Department of Commerce. I think it's Bureau of Economic Analysis. I'm going to use that as my example of the agency I'm trying to go into. And I put this Batman here because it's a new term for me, right? I've been around a long time, but sometimes there's all sorts of stuff you don't know, right? All of us experts, there's a lot we don't know. We're just experts because we know this level, right? But Batman wasn't my world. And so we'll go in there, but basically it's administrative. I think it's business and technology management, I think it is. But when I was looking for administrative support, I saw that. I was like, oh, okay. And that's the vital, that's why looking at the data is so important. Is you might think you know how the government is buying and the terms they use, but the minute I saw Batman, it opened up this whole new world of searching, right? I could instantly see it and go, oh, it makes total sense. And now I'm diving down a whole different rabbit hole of information. And the other thing I want to show you is just briefly how you can go in and review competitors. When you're trying to find the dollars, one of the best ways to find the dollars is to look at the people who've been winning before you and then go see what else are they winning. So there's a lot to that. So I'm going to go into USA Spending, but I'm only sharing my slides at the moment. So let me switch over and share my whole screen. Okay, I think I'm sharing my whole screen, and so we'll go into USA Spending. So USA Spending, there is so much in here, and I've got 18 minutes at most to be able to show you something, right? More like 15. But there's so much in here, so I want you to come in. What I'm hoping to get out of today's training is that you realize how vital USA Spending is, and you come in and start exploring. That's one of the best ways to become an expert, is to just be curious. Be curious about the tool. So I'm going to move very fast. You can always come back and watch a replay. You can track some of this stuff. But when I come into USA Spending, the first thing I want to do is to start searching for awards. I want to start finding the money so I can learn about it, et cetera. And remember, USA Spending is about contracts that have been awarded, not things that are in the future. So when you come in, you can start with a keyword, and I might walk you through a couple of these examples. But I just want to show you on the left-hand side. And by the way, this is for beginners and advanced. So if you're a beginner, I'm going to cover down early on. But if you're advanced, wait, and I'll give you some, you'll see some of the way I use it. That'll be helpful to you. So you can see these filters. You have this ability to fill in some or all of these filters to be able to come down. So sometimes I do training and I want to see what's been set aside. I might come in here and say, I'm looking for set asides that were 8A sole source. And I come up here and I say, I want to see that it was sole sourced in FY24. Let's go see if anything's been sole sourced already, right? And when I do this, I can see that already in 2024, and that actually it's been a long time. It's been like 4 months, right? So it didn't just start. But 2024 here on January 15th, there's been 2,300 awards, right? So I can see what's going on. If you haven't seen, let me zoom out a little bit. If you haven't seen USA Spending at all, I'm going to show you some of the results, and I might as well start here. So I just did a search that is a fiscal year. So I said, show me 2024. And then I said, show me 8A set asides. And maybe the reason I'm doing this is because I want to see two things, maybe which companies are winning sole sources, and maybe I want to see which agencies. So the companies I can see right here, right? And as I start going down, it's funny. One of the first things I can see right now is almost all of them are A and C's at the top. That's just the nature of the game. I mean, literally, that's 130. I know it's kind of small here. $139 million contract just went to an 8A direct award. So it's, these things are pretty big. But that was a while ago. And what they're showing here in USA Spending is like an option here or something that is happening. But what I'm really looking for is right here in the categories. I want to see which agencies are looking at it. So if I come to categories tab, and then over here on the right-hand side, I've got prime awards or sub awards. I can hit that switch. Oh, that's not what I wanted to look for. Sorry. Sub agencies or agencies. So when I do that, I'm actually looking below the Department of Defense, below HHS. And so here I can see, which is really interesting, the Army is the #1 leader in 8A direct awards or sole source. But at the beginning of 2024, I can see that the Air Force is off to the races with $45 million and PBS, right? And even HHS is in here. I have to come down, and I think this is Assistant Secretary. I don't know which one this is, but I'm thinking it's USDA. But the Army, I'm noticing the Army is in 5th place, right? These are things that are interesting to me. I can see that maybe there's more traction at the Air Force. I don't know why they're doing more direct awards in the beginning. Is there something motivating them? But that piece of information helps me. Let me come back to the research, and I reset the search here. And I want to come back and slowly work down these filters, right? There's a lot of filters to look at. And I just want to show you how I use them. So I talked about administrative support. So let's just type admin. Well, let's just try admin support. So I don't have to type all the words, right? I just want to show you slowly as I add one filter after another and I begin to look at it. So here I can see, again, I'm an administrative support firm. I can see right away that DoD has got the bulk of the award information, or excuse me, the awarded contracts. There's a lot of information, but it's way too much. And one of the things I realized right away is I need to filter this down. And so let me look back at the last 2 years, right? So now I'm going to change it. And I'm looking at admin support. Time period is FY23 and 22. So I'm just looking at the last 2 fiscal years. And when I look at that, it takes a minute for the fields to load. But what I'm really looking for is, so I can see there's 1,100 activities that have happened so in that year. That's interesting that it's admin support and it's doing that. I'll come back to that in a minute. It's showing there's about $1 billion in spend each year through there. And then I can see who was winning that money. But one of the things I wanted to do is I come in, is I wanted to start seeing what are these contracts that are being awarded. And so I might look at the total obligation as an example. So I just sorted by that field, total obligation. And I'm curious because my customer could do, let me hit it again. My customer could do admin support. They've been around a while. They're an 8A firm. So I start looking in here and I start trying to figure out which ones are ones they might be able to go after. And also the other thing I'm looking for, if you can see this start period and end period, the farther back the start date is, the more I can see that this contract's probably coming up. And I might click on it to go look at it more. So some of these, let me back up. Something else I'm able to look at is I can scroll across here and I can get a general idea of what the type of work is. So some of these things are just too weird in there. I'm looking at management consulting, but right here, if I look at this guy, just as an example, and I don't know who this is, right? But I want to look at that one and go, you know what, that looks good. Whoop. So it's a $26 million contract. This one's kind of perfect, right? It's a year out, or more than a year from when it probably is going to expire. And I can look at it now and click on this item, right? And I can come in and start looking at this to see what this contract was like. I'm able to see, remember, I'm chasing the money. I'm trying to figure out where can I find admin support type contracts that I might be interested in going after. So here I'm looking at this contract. The overall contract's $36 million and it's spread out over multiple years. This is good stuff for me. Here's just the spending. What I'm really looking for is I want to come down and see how was it competed. That's one of the things I want to look at is like, can I go after it? So here, this is pretty interesting, right? It was an 8A, I love this, simplified acquisition, but it was 8A sole source. And so this is an interesting one. I might go in there and try to push it. I'm assuming if I looked at the recipient that they're an ANC. So right here, they're an ANC. That's the only way it's a sole source for that much money, which is fine. I don't really care about that at the moment. But what I do care about is we can do this work. And I might be able to go in there and start talking to the contracting officer now about pushing it out of direct award 8A sole source, right? And see if I can make it competitive. I might even go find 5 of my 8A friends and say, hey, this opportunity looks good. Why don't we all respond separately, trying to convince the contracting officer to consider it to go at least competitive 8A, which gives all of us a chance. It's something to consider, right? And so I'm just chasing the dollars here. And I can look at all this other detail. I'm not going to go into it at the moment. I can look at all this other detail, which will help me with capture as I'm trying to pursue that. It gives me a lot of early information in there. So I can see it's at Washington headquarters service, et cetera. By the way, just a sidebar, if you're not, well, no, I won't do sidebars. I do that too much. Okay, so let me come back. So one of the other things I was trying to find, right down here, I saw sole source. I'm a little less interested in sole source because maybe sometimes that's hard to go after. But what about 8A competed? Like, I don't know how many awards are in here. So now I just did this again, right? So the work I'm chasing is admin support. That's the keyword. For the last couple of years, I'm trying to see what's out there, and 8A competed. You can change these times any way you want. So in here, first thing I'm going to do is just go see the size. So there's like 5 million set aside. There's way more direct awards to 8A than there is set asides. But I can come in here and I can see there's a couple of, there's just a few $1 million spend. And I'm just using that one term, admin support, right? It may or may not hit the way I want. In fact, let me show you something I can do right now. The typical NAICS code for this type of work is, if I'm getting it correctly, it's 541611. So let me put that in and see if it broadens the amount of money that we just looked at. So if I do 541611, and then I come up here and I just say submit the search again. So it just went from 5 million and 3 million up to 200 million average, right? 250 million. This is a big deal. The problem with NAICS code, though, is NAICS codes cover down on a lot of work. You can see if I go here, I can see 212 contracts in here, which is still fine for me. So one of the things I'm going to do here, if I'm thinking about trying to build my pipeline and I'm looking at opportunities that might be expiring, for example, I can start looking at some of these, and I hate it when they have all this data that's old. I can't really fight that. Let me just switch it this way. Okay, so I can see the contracts that are farther out. I'm looking, let's say I'm looking at this one here. So this one here, the reason I looked at it just briefly is that it looks like the contract's probably getting ready to expire. I don't know for sure, but I just want to look at the work. And here's where I can see business and financial management services. And let me just look over really quick. It's a Department of Transportation. It's a BPA call, so it's on a BPA. So when I'm looking at this and I'm trying to figure out the money, I'm able to start filtering this down more and more. Let me back up for a second, and I just want to create another search. If I back away for a second, so I was looking for something on admin support. I'm looking for it maybe with a NAICS code and some of these set-asides. Now I want to take it back to the agency. What we're trying to do is we're in one bureau, let's say Bureau of Economic Analysis, but we really want to go from there up to Department of Commerce. We want to expand in the department that we already have proven past performance. So we want to go, how can we go farther? And how do we look at some of the work? So I can go to their long range acquisition forecast. I can go to SAM. I can do all these other things. But here I'm trying to go, well, let me look at some of the opportunities that are expiring. And I can look at FPDS to find this, but here I'm just in USA Spending today. So what I am going to do is I'm going to come down here for a second, and let me just put in the same time frame, FY 2022 and 2023. And then I'm going to come in here to agency. And on agency, you can choose funding, the people who are providing the money, or awarding agency. I'm just going to stick with funding for 1 second. And let me try economics. Oh, that's funny. I don't know if I didn't like what I did, but here's the agency I was looking for. So Bureau of Economics. I'm going to start there for 1 second and search. And let me scoot out here a little bit. So when I come in and I'm trying to do more work with this bureau, I can look in and see what have they been awarding, right? And this is just in the past couple of years, and I can see who's winning. This is another big deal for me. When I, and actually, let me just show you right now, when I look at this kind of data, this is pretty much everybody who's, every contract that's been awarded, right? So it's only, the only filters I'm doing on all the data is saying, show me the last 2 fiscal years. and do that for the funding agency being the Economic Analysis Bureau or Bureau of Economic Analysis, right? And so I would want to download it. And at the top of the screen here, if you can see it, you'll see a download. When you click on it, you have the ability to download the data. Personally, I like downloading transaction. This allows me to see, it's a lot of extra information, but I can just track it and see what stories. The downside of doing that is you'll see a lot of zero entries where they're just doing necessary updates to the information out of the acquisition shop. So you can do either one of them. I just prefer transactions so I can have a holistic view and just filter out in Excel the way I want. But when I do that, I'm able to start looking down and seeing, I can do this in Excel with a pivot table. If you're not familiar with that, you can learn that. But this idea of being able to see these companies that are in there, and I might chase this in a second to show you when I'm looking at companies trying to see what they're winning. If I come over here, so you got statistical, I'm going to get out of this 1 second and add a keyword really quick. Let me just add in administrative. If I add that in to the search, it takes me down to 21, right? And the reason I'm doing this is I want to see, well, if these people are winning, let me scroll over for you. If these people are winning typical type contracts out there, like here, this website services support, literally just talking to a customer last week who was saying that's the type of work we want. So let's just use that as an example. I'm going to go in, and I don't know who Metaphase Consulting is, and I don't really care at the moment. But if I want to chase the money by chasing the winners, obviously I can look at Booz Allen, but I'm going to see 1,000 things. But if I click on Metaphase, I'll learn two things. I'll learn about the company, and then I'll also learn about what they're being awarded. So here I can see it's an 8A company. That's really helpful because I can go and see, if I don't see it here, I can go see when do they graduate from the 8A program. I can almost tell when they got into it, right? I bet you they got into the 8A program in 2017 and started coming forward. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's a really good chance that they're getting ready to graduate if they haven't already. And in fact, just to show you how quick it is to find this, I take their UEI, put it over here in DSBS. Imagine if you're trying to work with this company or to just see what they're doing. If I come in here, remember I told you when they got their 8A, I said, so they got it in 2017. If we look at it right here, that's what I said. I said they probably got it in 2017 because they got their 8A. And look at this. They had been around for a little while. So they had been working, probably subcontracting, et cetera, and learning. So their first year out of the gate, they won 2 contracts and they started going up. This is a good thing, right? I'm able to chase the money, but they're going to graduate in a couple of years. That means they need to start offsetting 8A dollars to commercial dollars, non-8A dollars. And so it's important to be able to track them down. But I can also see what did they win. And so as I come down, I can see where they're being, where they're getting the most contracts, et cetera. One thing I can notice right away is that their Department of Commerce contract is a rare one. It's not normal, right? So over here, they're doing the bulk of their work at DHS and then some in these other places. And so this actually is perfect for my particular customer. They're trying to get into state and USAID. This would be a good person to work with. And so I'm chasing the money using USA Spending. So I can see my times tracked. I like to end on time. I'm happy to come back and answer questions, but here's what I want you to remember. I'm just trying to introduce you to USA Spending as a tool for you in government contracting, right? So become an expert at USA Spending. This is your tool, the same as SAM and FPDS and some of these other tools that the government provides. These are your tools just as much as email is. So learn how to use them. Practice going in and filtering down on all that data by your own set of filters, right? The last fiscal year or what you sell. And then browse that data because sometimes you can filter, but you miss a lot. But when you do like I did, where I pick a fiscal year in an agency and then I just look at everything for a second, I get an understanding of what they're buying in a kind of different way. So just remember, it's your tool. The more you practice it, the better you'll get at it. And that's just part of the process, right? So remember, as you head into today, government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. Part of the process is showing up. I appreciate you showing up. I'll see you in the next training.